Today we're going to be looking at how to use the synth engines in the Helix to create a moving background for you to solo on top of. So on the top part here, just do whatever you want to do. You don't have to sound like me. Right? What I'm using is a super overdrive, a Friedman model, a delay, an impulse response, and a reverb, but you can use whatever you want. Let's go to the important part, which is the bottom, and that's where the magic happens. I'm using the 3-note generator because that one gives me notes and it's easier to read as my main synth sound. And right after that, I'm using my volume pedal so I can fade it in and out. I'm not planning on doing swell, so this just works better with snapshots and the foot switches than assigning a gain block and just using it to remove the gain, to move the gain up and down. And that way I can use the volume pedal and fade it in and fade it out. Alright, so let me turn off these effects so you can hear what the synth engine sounds like by itself. Pretty dry, pretty boring, and I'm using a saw-down type of wave for all three of these. The cool thing about the 3-note generator is that you can use independent waves, so if I wanted the lowest sound to be a square wave, I can do that. If I wanted the middle sound to be a triangle wave, I could do that. And I can choose 3 different waves and get different textures for the synth sound. Generally a sine is going to be very smooth, square is going to be a little bit harsh, the sawdown is going to sound like this. So that part is up to you. You can create whatever type of synth sound you want. But the reason why I added a modulation here, I have the script mod phase, is just add a little bit of movement. Right, I have it in stereo, and it's just the phase just adds a little bit of something to it, and it sounds better to my ears. You don't have to use a phaser. You can use a flanger, you can use a chorus, you can use a tremolo. It's up to you here. I'm using a phaser for the sake of this video because I like it. And then I move on and I'm using the plateau reverb. And I haven't messed too much with the settings. The reason why I chose the plateau reverb is it adds the octave down and octave above, and it just fills the space really nicely in my opinion. And the last thing I'm using here is the Cosmos Echo, and it's just such a wet delay that it just adds a lot of ambience to it. And the reason why I'm putting it after the reverb is that it reduces the gliding type sound. Like when I change chords, you don't really hear too much of the gliding. If you put the delay before, it can sound funky, which could be a desired effect. And then I move on here and I split my signal and I put a gain block that's not really doing anything but existing in there. And at the end here, I'm splitting my signal left and right, and I'm reducing the level by 6 decibels. So what that does is sends the synth sounds to the right and to the left, and the guitar can sit in the middle and be heard clearly. So how do we actually change the synth sounds? What I'm doing is I'm using snapshots. And the way you assign that, you simply click here, and you can just select where you want to assign it to, and you select snapshot. And the cool thing is that you can assign multiple things to snapshots, so in theory you could change every parameter of the synth as you're changing sounds, as you're changing snapshots. And it could be a really cool effect. But I'm going to keep it simple today because this is about introducing the concept and letting you experiment. Right? I'm a huge believer in teaching people the basic information and let them just go and play and have fun and figure it out for themselves so that they build the knowledge. Anyways, so what you do is just assign these to a snapshot, and it's going to take some minor knowledge of theory, like knowing what forms a chord and what kind of notes you can put in there. So I assign the oscillation notes on all three oscillation notes to a specific note, for me a C chord, and it sounds like this. Right, so I go to the next snapshot and then I assign the 3 oscillation notes to different notes and form me a G chord. So I have a G, a B, and a D, and it sounds like this. Alright, the same thing for the next snapshot. I have an F, an A, and a C for me an F chord. And then lastly, I have an A, an E, and a C for me an A minor chord. And what that does is, as you change snapshots, you're changing chords and you're giving yourself something to solo on top of, so that you can have more freedom and have more harmonic content and be able to do more stuff than if you're just holding one single note. So I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you next time.